Today's story, The Last Train. We have also added this story to our playlist, where you can find all our channel stories at one place for your convenience. Let's begin. It was 11:50 p.m. when Ella rushed into the station, breathless, the sound of her footsteps echoing off the walls. The city's evening bustle had long faded, and the only people left were a few travelers huddled together, waiting for their trains to take them home. The clock above the ticket counter ticked slowly, a constant reminder of the time slipping away. "Please wait for the last train," a voice echoed over the loudspeaker. Ella's heart skipped a beat. The last train, her last chance to return home. She had missed the earlier one, distracted by the endless maze of thoughts about her failed job interview. The disappointment weighed heavily on her, making her feel like the night had already slipped beyond her reach. She glanced at the platform, her eyes scanning for the train. There was only one other person there, an elderly man with a suitcase, who sat on a bench, looking lost in thought. Ella couldn't help but wonder if he, too, was rushing against time. The train doors finally opened with a hiss, and Ella hurried inside, relieved. The train car was mostly empty, except for a few passengers scattered throughout. She found an empty seat near the window and collapsed into it, exhausted. As the train pulled away from the station, she closed her eyes and leaned back. The rhythmic clatter of the wheels on the tracks was soothing, and she allowed herself a few moments to forget her worries. The city lights blurred outside the window, flickering like distant stars in the night sky. Just as she began to relax, the elderly man, who had been sitting on the bench earlier, entered the car and shuffled over to the seat next to hers. He smiled politely before sitting down. His wrinkles spoke of years lived, and his eyes carried a quiet sadness that Ella couldn't ignore. "Late night," he said softly, his voice raspy. Ella nodded. "Yes. I almost missed the train." The man chuckled softly. "I've missed more than my fair share of trains in my time." Ella couldn't help but smile. "What brings you out this late?" The old man hesitated before responding. "Sometimes, I feel like the train is the only place where I can find peace. I've been taking this route for years, even when I don't need to go anywhere." Ella raised an eyebrow. "Just riding the train for the sake of it?" He nodded, his gaze fixed on the passing lights. "When life gets too overwhelming, you need to find something that moves you forward, even if it's just a train." Ella pondered his words. The world had felt so heavy in the last few months, like she was standing still, unsure of what came next. But here, on this quiet train, there was a sense of movement, even if it was only a fleeting moment. The train passed through the city's outskirts, and Ella felt something stir within her. Maybe the old man was right. Life might not always offer clear directions, but it kept moving forward, one step, one train ride at a time. The train slowed as it approached the next stop. Ella stood up, her heart lighter than it had been hours before. "Thank you," she said, offering the old man a smile. The man nodded, his eyes twinkling with a quiet wisdom. Sometimes, all you need is a little movement. Ella stepped off the train, ready to embrace whatever the next part of her journey held.